some way I'm actually preaching to the choir, because all of you are here on a Saturday, so these things are important to you. But I'll be candid. These nurses, when they were at church or when they were in their homes, they would feel the same way. But when it came to an issue at their employment, when it came to an issue of, some of these nurses were there for 20 years. 20 years. Substantial paycheck, maybe single family moms. They were faced with a choice. And they were scared, there's no doubt about it. But when I walked in to that meeting that they mentioned, one nurse turned to me and had little Gideon's Bible in her nurse jacket, and she pulled it out and said, "This is my law. This is my law." They were faced with being terminated or assist in those abortions. But they stood up, they stood strong, and I'll be candid with you all again. They are an inspiration to me. Because I don't know if I would have that courage. It's amazing what they were willing to do. And maybe it's because there was some strength in numbers, because they had 12 of them, and they represented most of the nurses on that same Jersey unit. And they drew strength from each other. But I know that they drew strength from God, because I spoke to them individually, one by one, and they all said the same thing. When they go before their Maker, they may be asked the question, what did you do in that circumstance? And they can hold their head up high, because they stood up for what was right. And the question and the challenge I have for each one of you is, will you, under that adversity? I talked about another girl, Olivia Turton. She's another example. Talent show after school. How many people were going to, see that? It's done in Frenchtown. Anyone know where Frenchtown is? I mean, it's a small town. Maybe the auditorium would have had 70 people at best at that talent show. She was told no, she couldn't sing the song "Awesome God." Her mom and dad were dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do. They turned to us. We wrote to the school board. They were going to have a meeting on Tuesday. They met. They still said no. And on that Friday, the talent show was going to happen at 7 o'clock. Do you know we were in court Friday morning at 9 o'clock? We had filed all kinds of paperwork, 2 inches thick, and the judge said he was going to hear our case that morning at the talent show. Now, mind you, we're in federal court down in Trenton, and the judge that we got assigned to is Judge Chesler. He's a Jewish judge. I've been in front of him many times. He's a very thorough judge. He knows his law. So I was happy where we were. We got up there, and he had a lot of other court cases. By the time he heard our case, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, talent show's at 7. And the judge turns to me and says, I don't need to hear from your side. I know what your position is. Let me hear from the school attorney. Come on up to the podium. So the school attorney comes up with his briefcase. Let me ask you a question. Why can't she sing this song? Straight to the point. And the school board attorney said, Judge, did you read the words to Awesome God? Did you hear the lyrics? I mean, it talks about blood and thunder in his hand, and she'd be proselytizing to the school. The judge then said, on my way into work today, I heard the song Amazing Grace. What if she wanted to sing Amazing Grace? And the school board attorney said, Judge, if she wanted to sing Amazing Grace, we'd probably let her sing that song. So the judge said, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, to save the wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. He started singing the song Amazing Grace in a federal courthouse down in Trenton with a gallery full of people. Now, folks, let me tell you something. If you asked me, Demetrios, can you get a federal judge to sing the song Amazing Grace from the judge during court session, I'd say you're out of your mind. But God.
But God.
But God.
But God.
And that brings my second point. My second point is, through these litigations, you've got to realize something. God allows all things to work together for good.
Yeah.
So, and that case got a lot of publicity. It was on the news. I got clips from Fox News. It was all over the newspapers. And guess what? The words of Mate to Awesome God were printed in the newspaper, were shown on TV. Little Olivia got an opportunity to sing that song at 3 or 4 other venues with thousands of people present. And I got a federal judge to sing Amazing Grace from the bench. Do you see how God allows all things to work together for you? Because a little girl was willing to take a stand. And guess what else with Olivia's case? And I told you, we won. We won. The federal judge said, now she wasn't able to sing that night. Okay, the judge said, this is complex constitutional issues. I can't decide that today, but I'm going to allow your case to go forward. So unfortunately, she was disappointed that she couldn't sing that night. We had to call her on the telephone. She goes, that's okay. She said to us, it's okay. Disappointed in her voice, but she was glad that the case could go forward. But we eventually won the case, and the court said that the school had no reason, could not discriminate against her viewpoint simply because it's a religious song. She has the right, during a talent show, to sing about God if she wants to. Now that case is on the books, which brings me to my third point. That case now serves as precedential value. What I mean by that is now that is case law that someone can look to and say, you know what, if there's an after-school talent show, you can't discriminate because it's religious or the song's religious. And I'll tell you about what happened after that case. My office got a phone call about someone out in western New Jersey. I think he was on the school board. I didn't get the message quite clear, but he was on the school board, I think, and somebody wanted to read scripture after the school talent show. He was going to do thank you. And he was going to read some scripture. And the school said no. The teacher said no. And he went to the school board. The school board said no. But this school board member called me to find out if there's something we can do. And I got the message. I was somewhere in South Jersey, and I called my staff and I said, tell them about Olivia's case. Give them the case citation and send him the case. We did that. He called us back and said, guess what? He's going to read the scripture at that talent show. See, it served as precedence now. It served as precedence going forward. You can always look to these cases and you can say, well, this is what happened there. It applies in this case. We want the case to go forward. Now, I say all these things and I go back to the nurses. What they did was inspiring. What they did was very, very difficult. But you've got to realize something, and you've got to take priorities and what is more important in life. Do we stand up in the heat of the battle for what is right, or do we say no? I have countless number of parents who sit in my office about something that happened at school, and I said, you know, we've done everything we could. I've called, I've appeared before the school board, I've written letters. They're not backing down. The next step is to file a lawsuit. And the response is, well, we don't want to do that. Because, see, and I can understand, they have 2 or 3 other children that are younger that are going to go through that school system. They don't want any retribution. They don't want something to be held against them. And those are real life issues. And that's a difficult choice. I'll have to be honest with you. Even with them. That's a difficult choice. My paycheck, my livelihood, or my faith. The challenge for each one of you is, what will you decide? And most importantly, when you stand before your Maker, what is He going to say? So I appreciate the time of speaking with you. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for being here and listening. But we appreciate your prayers. We need them. The battle is very difficult out there. Very, very difficult. You'll be surprised where the forces come from on the other side. And as one nurse said, it is a battle between good and evil. Thank you.